There is a definite hierarchy in terms of Homestuck characters, and I'm not talking about some dumb comics' best written characters, and the other 8 exist. Like, the trolls are the comics' most famous characters. The pilot that came out last year made sure to go, hey, look, it's the trolls! Because the fans love them. There have been countless cosplays and fanfics, but a lot of the trolls were clearly meant to be side characters. They've been reshaped in the minds of the fandom because people made insert troll here their blorbo, but it can be complicated talking about these characters because so much of their perception in the eyes of the fans is shaped not by the original comic where they were very minor characters, but by the fandom portrayals of them. Hell, even I'm guilty of this. During my most recent reread of Acts 5.1 and 5.2 for this video, I was continually surprised at how my view of a character differed from how Hussey actually wrote them, because it had been so long since I'd actually read that part of the comic. And quite honestly, it's good that a lot of the trolls get sidelined. Homestuck is a story with a very large cast, and attempting to give equal screen time to every single character would A, murder the pacing, and B, lead to the story feeling aimless. I've seen stories try to balance casts that big, and a lot of them fall short. Hell, I've written a book with a cast of 14 main characters, and even I'll admit that some of them got shafted in terms of screen time. By the way, Miss Valley Middle School, the book that I wrote last year, is now available for free as a PDF. Link in the description. Read it if you feel like reading it. Please read it. Anyway, if you've been in the fandom for a while, you've probably seen this chart by Tumblr user Fenric, or perhaps this post by Redditor YouKnowHo, both of whom attempted to list Homestuck characters by word count. They differed by a few thousand words because YouKnowHo counted narration, but their ordering is close enough to get my point across. Some characters received a lot more dialogue than others, and some of that is just because certain characters are more verbose, like Karkat isn't first because he's the #1 most important boy in the universe. It's because he won't shut the fuck up, but still, there's a reason that John has 120 times as much dialogue as Matuna. It's because one of them is more important. Anyway, if we rank the trolls by word count, an interesting pattern emerges. Don't notice it? Here, let me color code this. Let me color code it how Solix would color code it. The red team trolls, the Prospect Dreamers, have significantly more dialogue. They are the ones at the top. The only exception is Gamzee, who spends half the story being this silent murder clown. Or what if we were to rank them by first appearance? Or by what page their introduction happens on? Again, not a perfect match. Solix is introduced early, Vriska is introduced surprisingly late, and although Kanai is the third troll to appear, the story took its sweet time with naming her. But the pattern is apparent, right? The blue team trolls are introduced later, have less screen time, and are overall less important to the overall story. And that makes sense. The teams aren't just random groupings, they're grouped based on who interacts most often with who, and the red trolls are more important because the other red trolls are more important. Vriska being important makes Terezi more important because their arcs are intertwined. The red team, with the partial exceptions of Tavros and Gamzee, are the ones the story cares about, and the blue team are the other ones that exist to fill in the chart. Like, the Zodiac, in addition to being stupid bullshit for dumb people, is a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's an interesting, easily understood motif, and on the other hand, it means that Hussey had to create 12 different distinct trolls. And I can imagine that when Hussey was writing Act 5.1, they probably got to a point where they said, shit, I still have to come up with a Pisces troll. Really? Is this what the video's about? Pfeffery? Really? Pfeffery? Her? Okay, sure, fine. Pfeffery is the last troll to appear. Like most of her compatriots, she is introduced in Act 5.1, which jumps around a lot. For example, at one point it cuts to Equius, then the narrator freaks out because Equius is the worst. The narrator begs to be allowed to focus on someone else. Anyone! Literally anyone else! That's Pfeffery. She's the character you cut to when you are out of options. She exists, I guess. Her proper introduction comes after that really weird Tavros and Vriska fairy kiss scene, which inspires the narrator to monologue about the complexities of troll romance. Well, humans just have hearts. Trolls have all 4 of the card suits. They have love, hate fucking, the one no one gives a shit about, and the one we'll be talking about constantly in this video, war allegiances. So, like, show of hands, how many people thought it was pronounced Moira allegiances? Because I did, for many years, even though Dave pronounces it phonetically during Penis Ouija. Anyway, Moi rails are introduced via showing 2 pairings, Equius and Apeta, and Pfeffery and Aridin. I'm just gonna quote directly the comic's description of Moi allegiances. Trolls are a very angry and violent race. Some are more hot-tempered and dangerous than others, to the extent that, if left on their own devices, they would present a serious threat to society or even to themselves. Such trolls will have an instinctive pale attraction to a more even-tempered troll who will become their moi rail. The moi rail is obliged to pacify the other to function as the better half. The two partners in a strong pale relationship will serve to balance and complement each other's emotional profiles, and thus allow the other relationships to be more successful. The narrator says that some moi rails are obvious to all who know them, and some pairs are made for each other. Like Pfeffrey and Aridin, they're introduced together. Aridin kills a whale Lucis, and Pfeffrey drags it back to her giant Lovecraftian tentacle monster. These two are such a cute pair! Yeah, right after their introduction, Pfeffrey dumps Aridin because he's exhausting and high maintenance. Now, she's free. So, this is a bit of a hot take, but looking at this comic 10 years after it ended, I think troll romance is supposed to be a bad thing. Like, Hussey's intentions can be hard to decipher sometimes because the comic is filtered through jokes and irony, and Hussey's narration is fond of messing with the reader, but I think troll romances, aside from the normal one, are supposed to suck. Like, the demonstration we get for Kismessitudes is Jack and the Black Queen. Jack murders her. This is not a healthy relationship. This is a relationship from the shitty murder hellscape planet controlled by the devil, not a relationship type that will exist on a planet that didn't suck. And the other two made-up love types suck too. Like, a lot of people treat moi rails as being these cutesy, close platonic relationships, and that very explicitly isn't what they are in the text. They're Pfeffrey babysitting a racist asshole because her dating him pacifies him and keeps him from murdering her friends. That isn't a healthy relationship, it's a hostage situation. I think moi rails are probably the worst relationship type in the comic, as evidenced by the fact that all of them we see are shitty and abusive. And yes, that includes that one. Like, Pfeffrey mentions that she's never had time to think about a relationship with anyone except Aridin because keeping him from killing people or hurting himself monopolizes all of her emotional energy. So, as soon as the trolls get wiped out, as soon as Pfeffrey enters the game, she says she just wants to be friends. And hey, maybe now she can have a relationship with Solix, maybe. They saved each other's lives, that's cool. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that right after introducing the idea of moi rails, of characters staying with someone horrible to keep them from being violent, that the archetypal example of this relationship breaks up, nor is it a coincidence that this breakup is treated as a joyous thing. The story of Pfeffrey Pikeseas is the story of a girl living for the first time after leaving a really toxic relationship she was forced into when she was young. The core of Pfeffrey is her desire to jump out of the fishbowl and shout that she's free. So, Pfeffrey has dumped Aridin. Now what? Who is this character who is introduced as part of a duo when she's alone? Well, she's nice, cheery, and excitable, and also the heiress to a massive, horrible intergalactic empire. Pfeffrey has big plans for the throne. She wants to make Alternia a place that cares for the inferiors instead of killing them, something she practices with a fake animal hospital in her castle. I dare say that is a bit problematic, Your Highness. Speaking of problematic, that's not something you should be saying, Pfeffrey. Don't say it again! Fortunately, no one else ever says ableist slurs in this comic. Art is a product of its time, okay? The current ruler, her imperial condescension, wants to kill Pfeffrey, but Pfeffrey is kept safe by her Lucis, the great and terrible Glub Glub. This comic is a lot sillier when you read it out loud. Unfortunately, there is a downside to this protection. Pfeffrey has to feed Glub Glub to keep her calm because if she ever gets upset, she'll scream so loud that she will kill every single troll. Pfeffrey works with Aridin, killing other trolls Luci and dragging them to Glub Glub to keep the beast pacified. Glub Glub does eventually scream, killing all the trolls, and Pfeffrey doesn't mind. She's fine with this because she's finally free. She can escape into Sigrub and leave behind her responsibilities as a princess and finally start having fun now that she doesn't have to spend so much time making sure a horrible monster feels satisfied every second of every day. In case it wasn't obvious, I'm not just talking about the tentacle monster Lucis. You know, honestly, I never liked Pfeffrey. I thought she was a boring, flat character whose dialogue is a pain in the ass to read, but upon rereading the comic and putting Pfeffrey under a microscope, I realized she's fun! She's energetic and exciting, and while she isn't the deepest character, there is some depth to her dealing with the shackles of being someone else's emotional caretaker. I no longer think that Pfeffrey is the least developed troll. Nepeta is. Anyway, the trolls play the game and beat the game, and ah shit, Jack showed up and killed everyone. And he blew up Prospit and Durst. Wow, Pfeffry must feel absolutely gutted about this chain of circumstances. Karkat, the leader of the trolls, blames the Beta Kids for their misfortune and orders his team to troll them. Some of them take this more seriously than others. Man, I'm showing a lot of charts this year. Is this for what it's worth, Pfeffry doesn't feel like trolling. She's excited to meet the Beta Kids, seeing them as the way to defeat Jack. She is the first one to suggest helping out the kids, and she helps via giving Jade a seizure-inducing nightmare full of tentacle monsters. What the fuck was that, Pfeffry? Well, I mean, I know because I've read the comic. What Pfeffry has done is something very big. So big, it's kind of hard to conceive of the story without her doing this. Pfeffry convinced the horror terrors, the ancient Lovecraftian gods that live in the furthest ring, to create the dream bubbles, an afterlife for the players to go to after they all die horribly. Which is important because Pfeffry is dead. Wait, she is? Oh shit, she is! Well, that didn't last long. Guess the video's over now. Except, of course, this video isn't actually about Pfeffry. Ah, Eridan Empora. You terrible, terrible piece of shit. You're complex enough to talk about for however much longer this video is, I bet. Last fall, I reread the comic, paying special attention to a few characters I hadn't really paid much attention to before. I was surprised by how much I liked Pfeffry. As for Eridan, I was surprised at how big of a fucking loser this guy is. He's so fucking pathetic. He is the most pathetic character in the entire comic. Yes, even more so than Jake. His first cameo is him picking up Gamzee's garbage and acting racist, but his first conversation, the conversation that sets the tone for his entire arc, is him messaging Kanaya to whine about Vriska ignoring him. What a fucking loser. He wants to talk to Vriska because he wants her to give him a doomsday device which he can then use to murder all of the land dwellers. For some reason, Kanaya isn't interested in helping him. But, Kanaya, haven't you thought about how important the fate of the race and the purity of the bloodline is? See, the trolls have this blood caste system where trolls on one end live longer and are richer, and the ones lower down are oppressed and considered inferior. Eridan is right near the top, just below the royalty level. He's part of the sea-dwelling aristocracy that rules over everyone. But, to quote Eridan's introduction, ruling isn't enough. He has an overpowering genocide complex and has made it his sworn duty to kill all land dwellers. Also, he's really into military history and legendary conquerors. Eridan's that guy you went to high school with who was, like, really interested in World War II, but only the bits that talked about how big the tanks the Nazis built were. He's that guy. He's a bit of a tool. So, like, Homestuck is a story heavily shaped by its fan base, and that fan base loved the trolls, loved drawing fan art and writing fan fiction and cosplaying as their favorite troll. And I mean, that's fine. It isn't necessarily a bad thing for Homestuck to have this hyper-devoted fan base that loves these characters. But that love for the story has a tendency to mutate the story, cause people to start basing their view of the characters not on the actual text, not on how it was written by the author, but on the Tumblr incorrect quotes versions of the characters. Fandom has a tendency to smooth out rough edges, turn asshole characters into soft, sad boy woobies who just need a hug and to be forgiven, and have a redemption arc and be part of our found family, and blah blah blah. This happens to a lot of Homestuck characters, but I think the most perplexing one to do this towards is Eridan, because what even is there to give you the impression he's anything less than a complete and total tool? He's introduced by saying, "I want to commit genocide." I think he might be an asshole, guys. Also, it's really fitting that the Harry Potter parody guy is the one who everyone loves despite him being insanely bigoted. Like, sure, do your Draco and leather pants treatment to the genocidal racist wizard. Make the trope name fitting. But don't worry, he isn't just racist. He's also an incel. During that conversation with Kanaya, he keeps pestering her to be his auspitus, which is that club romance where one person stops the other two from killing each other, because otherwise, Eridan and Vriska will get worse and ruin everything. Then there will be blood on Kanaya's hands, not on Eridan's. Oh no, he isn't responsible for his actions. Kanaya says it's unbelievable Pfeffry has so much patience. Eridan asks, "Hey, did Pfeffry talk about me? What did she say about me? Was it romantic? Did she say something romantic? Please copy-paste what she wrote, Kanaya. I want to know. Please tell me. Please, please, please." God, this guy is awful. In his first conversation with Fefri, she tells Aridin that he keeps failing with his genocide plots because deep down, he knows they're wrong and he says, "Nuh-uh, we are the superior race." Fefri says he's pretending because he has land dweller friends. Aridin says that history is full of stories of conquerors fucking members of ethnic groups they're bigoted towards before murdering them. And he isn't wrong when he says that. Put this up as a bus sign because we need to keep tapping it today. Wanting to have sex with someone does not preclude you from being racist towards them. Anyway, Aridin mopes about Vriska not being into him anymore. They used to have this awesome relationship where she would murder children, and then he would kill their loose side to feed to Glub Glub. God, he's the worst. And don't give me that, well, someone has to do it shit. Aridin doesn't even show remorse. Hell, he seems to enjoy it. The only thing keeping him from killing everyone is the knowledge that if he committed genocide, Fefri would be upset. After Fefri gets into the game, Aridin tells Fefri that he has something he needs to tell her. She does too. She says, "Aridin, now that the apocalypse happened and you are no longer able to murder everyone, I think we'd be better as friends." He begs her to reconsider. They're meant to be together. They're fated to be moirails. Fefri says she can't look after him anymore, and Aridin gets pissed. Then he asks, "Hey, I know you just dumped me because I'm the worst, but want a date?" Fefri turns him down because she spends so much time and so much energy trying to keep Aridin from killing everybody or hurting himself, she doesn't have any energy left for those feelings either. Aridin goes, "Woe is me, I'm so miserable and terrible, I'm the worst." Like, Aridin, this is why she dumped you, man, because you are so fucking exhausting to talk to. We won't actually get to see Aridin play the game. All we see is him having a duel with Solux during Make Her Pay. Apparently Aridin didn't like Fefri talking to other men after she dumped him. During Alternative Bound, Aridin talks to Vriska about how he's going to get a new rival and tells Terezi, "Please tell Solux I want a rematch." She says no, and he whines about being pathetic. Aridin only interacts with the kids twice. First he messages Rose to whine about how magic isn't real because Aridin has a complex about thinking magic is fake. He assumes that Rose is part of the nobility because of her text color, then makes a fanfic in his head about how she's a superior noble blood treated like a commoner, despite being inherently better than everyone. Aridin hits on Rose, so she offers to teach him magic. First lesson, showmanship. Rose blows up Aridin's computer. Eat shit, asshole. Aridin, determined to beat his new rival, pesters Kanaya until she makes him a magic wand. The wand is fake and doesn't work. Kanaya is doing this as a joke because Rose just taught her what sarcasm is. Slight problem, Aridin's class is Prince of Hope. Hope players have the ability to make fake things real. Aridin doesn't believe in magic so hard that his wand is now a super powerful death weapon. I'm sure that won't be a problem. After getting his wand, Aridin offers to give Jade power to defeat her dreaded rival, that witch Rose, who is actually a seer. Jade isn't interested. The fact that Aridin can only view things through deception and rivalries is telling. Speaking of red flags, in the Returnabound Flash game, Karkat and Aridin have a conversation about Aridin's planet, the Land of Wrath and Angels. The planet had these game constructs called angels that were really strong and nearly unkillable. But Aridin discovered that at least a minute of sustained legendary weapon rifle fire was enough to kill them. They did not drop any loot because they weren't enemies. Anyway, Aridin bitches about how no one else wanted to help him kill the super fast, super tough murder angels whose death served no purpose, for some reason. Aridin walks up to Solix and Fefri, who are chilling together on Gamzee's horn pile, so he can be racist to Solix.